Are you ready for some football? College football. Well, you know, it's August. It's going to be Labor Day weekend before you know it, and I'm ready for some darn NCAA Division I football. The second best kind of football there is. They recently released the top 25. It's not the AP poll. It's just really the first of the year. Not really the most important, but I think it's pretty good. They have a nice set list, and I want to do a couple of things in this video. Number one, I'm going to go down the recently released top 25 rankings, kind of give you my idea of how I think each of these teams will end up faring during the actual college football season. Then give you my picks for the Big 5 championship games, and then finally kind of give you my predictions for all of the placements for the upcoming national championship bowl games. So Rose Bowl, Peach Bowl, all of them. I'll get to those in just a minute. My thoughts on the top 25 is released. Okay, number one, FSU. They're the defending champions, and Jamie Winston, the Heisman guy. You know, they're a very good team. I think they're going to play very, very well this year, but I do not think they'll make it back to the championship. In fact, I don't think they're even going to make it to the tournament this year. They're not going to win the ACC. I think there are two trap games on this schedule. There's a game against Clemson, which I think they'll probably lose, and the game against Miami, which I think that is at Miami, isn't it? I could be wrong, but I think it is at Miami, and I think FSU will drop that one, the very last game of the season. I don't know if it's the last game of the season, but it's pretty close to being the tail end of the season. So I think they drop at least two games throughout the season, and they do not qualify for the ACC championship. So no repeat, just off the top of my head. And boy, if you think that's a controversial pick, Alabama, ranked number 2, they got rolled by Oklahoma. I think that was really, you know, we can look at the game against Auburn last year, so that was kind of a fluke. They got a lucky kick there. But that game against Oklahoma, they just got crushed. Don't give me the whole, well, you know, they were a demoralized team playing for nothing. That showed me there was a lot of key weaknesses on this team, and I think they're not going to be anywhere near as good as some are predicting them to be. I think there are a lot of games on here that could really end up losing and losing badly. I think the Ole Miss game could be a trap. I think even the game against Arkansas could be a trap. LSU and Auburn, I think these are all potentially games that Alabama could lose. I see them dropping 3 games, not even close to qualifying for the SEC championship. Oklahoma. If you are a betting man, if you like to put money on things, Oklahoma probably has the easiest path to national championship of any team in the league. Well, not league, the association. Sorry, I'm thinking about October football. But yeah, Oklahoma, really, you know, they got Texas and they've got Baylor, whoever they'd face in the championship game for the Big 12. You know, I don't really see Oklahoma stumbling at all. I think they go undefeated and they punch themselves an easy ticket to the national championship playoffs. They didn't really have to go into much there. Oregon, not buying them. I think it's a team that could lose any number of games. There are at least 6 games scheduled. I think they're going to have trouble. Michigan State game, Washington State, UCLA, Washington, Stanford, Oregon State. I think these are all games that Oregon could end up losing. I think they end up dropping about 4 games this year and not even in consideration for the Pac championship. Auburn, really, really good surprise success last year. This year they're going to do pretty good, but not good enough. I think they will end up making one of the bowl games, but not the actual playoff tournament. They got some really dangerous games against LSU. South Carolina, they'll probably lose. The Ole Miss game, I think they could probably lose that one. Of course, Alabama, they're looking for revenge. I guess them losing that one. But I think another game that is very dangerous for Auburn is the UGA game, because UGA came so close last year, and I think they're going to exact a little bit of revenge this year. So I think Auburn drops at least 2 games this year and once again are out of the running for the SEC championship. Ohio State, I got them dropping 2 games at least, not making it to the Big 10 championship. The Michigan State juggernaut, I think, is going to really derail them. Normally I think against Cincinnati or Rutgers or Michigan either. I just got a bad feeling about those. UCLA, that's my presumptive Pac champions. Texas, Oregon, Washington, Stanford. I don't think any of them is really going to give them any trouble. Washington maybe, Stanford maybe, but I think they've probably got a pretty easy path here to make it to the national championship, or at least the playoffs at least. Michigan State, this is my team I'm going to predict to win the entire Big 10 this year. They do have some dangerous games against Oregon, Michigan, Ohio State University, but Rutgers. But overall, I think it's a team that's really talented, and I think they end up going undefeated this year. They win the Big 10 championship, and they punch themselves tickets to playoffs. South Carolina, this is the team I think is probably going to end up winning the SEC, but hold on, there's a huge, huge caveat to this coming up later on. I'm saying there are 4 championship slots this year, right? You can pick 4 teams to make it to the playoffs. So that means you got at least one champion from the Big 5 divisions that's not going to make it. Controversial, I know, but I think this year SEC is going to be the division that's left out of the tournament. I know it's shocking. That seems absolutely unthinkable now, but trust me, it's going to play out. And I think the absolute most important game in the entire season this year happens on November 29th. It's South Carolina against Clemson. Whoever wins that game will make it to the tournament. Whoever doesn't win it will not be making the Final Four. I think USC, they're going to probably losing at least one game this year. UGA could get revenge. Mizzou, Auburn, all dangerous games. But I think the Clemson game is the most dangerous, and that's the one they end up dropping. Baylor, overrated. They're going to drop 3 games this year. Don't put any money on them. I think even West Virginia might give them some trouble. Stanford, they're a good team, but Washington State, and especially UCLA, I just think they're going to drop 3 games. I can't see them going that far in the playoffs. I don't think they make it the Pac championship. UGA, not happening. The defense has too many core weaknesses. I see them dropping about 4 games. Clemson, South Carolina, Missouri, Auburn, all really dangerous games, and really hard to see them putting up a defensive game to kind of win those. LSU, they're not the LSU of the old. I think they drop at least 5 games this year. Wisconsin, Mississippi State, Auburn, Ole Miss, Arkansas, Bama. I mean, these are games that I just don't think the Tigers are really in any condition to win. Wisconsin, I think this is a team, they're probably going to go undefeated. The most dangerous game they have all year is against LSU. Maybe Rutgers. I think they surmount this easily, and then they get fed to the Michigan State meat grinder. So good luck with that, even though you go undefeated. They'll drop 1 game. And I think this year, that's enough to keep you out of the playoffs, just dropping 1. USC, come on. This is a really overrated team. I already know this is going to end. I see them dropping 4. Clemson, once again, I said, 11-29. That's the most important game of the entire year for NCAA football. I think Clemson is going to beat UGA. I think they will beat Florida State, but that South Carolina game, I don't really know. It could go either way, and I just got a feeling Clemson, they're either going to run the table or they're going to lose one just really, really close heartbreaker. I see them dropping just a game this year, and that's enough to get them into the Big 4. Notre Dame, once again, overrated. Stanford, Florida State, even Northwestern, Louisville. I don't think they're really good enough for winning in those games. I have no idea what Arizona State is doing ranked as high as they are. Too many good teams. Washington State, UCLA. Don't see that happening. I think Ole Miss, this is a team that's ranked pretty high, but I think they're going to have an outstanding season. I think they will actually win their division. I think they'll end up dropping, 1 or 2 games to Alabama or maybe Auburn, but I think they end up winning the SEC West and having a date with South Carolina. Texas A&M, forget it. This team is on the road to destruction. They're going to lose 6 games this year, bare minimum. South Carolina, Ole Miss, Bama, everybody's going to beat up on them, so don't even bother. Kansas State, I think kind of an underrated team. I think they could go pretty far. They actually make it to the Big 12 championship. It's kind of confusing because the Big 10 has 12 teams. The Big 12 only has 10 teams, and it's just confusing. I don't know why can't we just flip-flop their names by now? It's ridiculous. So Kansas State, probably dropping 2 games, getting pretty far, but not a tournament team. Nebraska dropping 2 games against Michigan State, probably against Wisconsin. Can they beat Miami? I don't know. They could, maybe not. North Carolina, don't even bother. That's a joke. Texas, they're going to get crushed by UCLA and Oklahoma, so don't put money there. Washington, I think, is going to be a surprise team. They can go very far. The game is UCLA and Washington State, and Stanford has me concerned, but I think they'll only drop 2 games this year and make it to the Pac championship, where they will end up losing against UCLA. Miami. This is a team nobody's talking about. They played incredibly well last year. This is going to be a spoiler. There's going to be a team like FSU or Clemson that is going to be kept out of the national championship because of Miami. Now, I think Miami, they're not the best team in the ACC, but they are very good. They're going to have a great season. They will end up dropping 1, maybe 2 games. That'll keep them out of the tournament, but they're going to go in there and they're going to have some fun, keeping one of their heated rivals out. So keep that in play. They're a great spoiler. I think Missouri's going to have another great year, but I think they end up dropping to South Carolina, and I think UGA might get revenge this year, and even Arkansas I think could be a trap game. Washington State, another underdog team, I think they do pretty well. I think they drop 3 games in the playoffs. Mississippi State, Washington State, kind of the same boat. And Louisville, I think they could drop at least 3 games. They're a good team last year, but not good enough. So with all that out of the way, let's move on to my predictions. These are what I think will be the Big 5 championship games in the year. Kind of go down them. South Carolina against Ole Miss. I'm going to go with South Carolina. But like I said, it's not enough to get them into the Big 4. I know it's shocking, but guys, I said it already. It's for the second day of August. I called it. UCLA against Washington. I'm going to go with the Bruins. Michigan State against Wisconsin, which I think will probably be a battle of the undefeateds. I think the Spartans win that one. Oklahoma against Kansas State. Oklahoma is going to be absolutely just ferocious this year. They're going to be an absolute juggernaut. And Clemson against Miami. I don't know. Miami might win this one. I don't know. If Miami wins, South Carolina gets in. If Clemson gets in, then Clemson gets in. So, you know, if you're an SEC fan and you're an ACC fan, you're a fan of the Carolina teams for sure. Keep a close eye on that. That's going to be huge. And like I said earlier, 11-29. Mark my words, the most important game of the entire regular NCAA season. So, yeah, it's pretty easy right there. South Carolina, UCLA, Michigan State, Oklahoma, and Clemson. Now we move over to what I think will be the bowl games this year. You're going to have Miami against Auburn in the Peach Bowl. I think, I don't know, I'm going to go with Auburn. Just, why not? Because Miami's going to be demoralized. Fiesta Bowl, Ohio State against Washington. I'm going to pick Washington. FSU against Ole Miss in the Orange Bowl. I'm going to go with FSU. South Carolina against Wisconsin. Really good game. Go with South Carolina. You know, South Carolina, their team is going to be that close. If you know, they make the tournament, I don't know how far they'll go, but you know what? Like I said, it's too hard to call. I just think that ACC game against Clemson is going to really decide it all. So with that in mind, the tournament, the Big 4 teams. Sugar Bowl, UCLA against Michigan State. Over in the Rose Bowl, I got Oklahoma and Clemson. For this one, I'm going to go with Michigan State in a very close game. And I'm going to go with Oklahoma. Maybe not blowing out Clemson, but really embarrassing them. So that means our national championship game, we're going to have a battle of the Big 10 champion against the Big 11 champion. So we're going to have Oklahoma taking on Michigan State for the 2014-2015 NCAA championship. And in that game, my pick for this year's champion are going to be Boomer Sooners. Mark my words, you know, take your kids' college funds out of the bank, cash in your mortgage. I predict and I guarantee the Oklahoma Sooners will go undefeated this year and win the first national championship under the new playoff tournament. But you know what? There's still going to be controversy because of that team right there, possibly that team right there. You know what? This whole thing was meant to get us over the BCS controversy, but my ultimate prediction for the season, guess what? We still got some controversy ahead of us, folks, and it's going to be here for a while.